What's going on, guys? Welcome back to this video. Today we're talking about phishing attacks, and hopefully I'm gonna try to cover as much as I can and as much as I know about this subject. So first, let's start with a definition. So the first thing you want to know about phishing attacks is that phishing attacks are a form of something called the social engineering. So social engineering is the art of using psychological methods to extract information from humans. So basically, social engineering is taking advantage of human weaknesses using psychology. Now, the connection between social engineering and phishing attacks is that phishing attacks, despite they rely on technology to be achieved, they also rely on human weaknesses. For example, when a phishing email is sent to a target or a group of targets, this phishing email will use various psychological methods such as urgency. So a phishing email may use the factor of urgency to urge you, for example, to change your account password. So account password change, claiming that your account has been compromised. Another way of urging you to take an action is to claim that your account is blocked. Okay, so they create a sense of urgency. Now, what's the objective? The objective is to urge you and take an action. So inside the email, they claim that you have a problem and they will give you the solution. The solution is to click on a link. The link will take you to a page. In this page, you will fill information and the information will be sent to the attacker. That's what happens. Now, another factor that phishing attacks use is, in addition to urgency, the factor of greed. So the factor of greed here is a way to lead you into taking an action by claiming that you will have or you will gain a benefit when you click on a specific link or fill some information. An example could be rewards, coupons are popular in this. Again, we have discounts, giveaways. All of these can fall under the factor of greed. Now, you don't need to memorize and be able to categorize whether this phishing attack is using the urgency factor or the greed factor. I'm just giving you examples of how a phishing attack and why it is categorized as a social engineering form of social engineering. Now, that's the definition of phishing attack. So basically, I'm gonna summarize this again. So a phishing attack is a form of a social engineering attack that uses email to harvest user information or to infect user computers using this mechanism. Alright, now let's talk about the components of a phishing email. Now, components of phishing email are the components that go into a phishing email. The first thing is let's give them numbers. So first, the sender address. So a phishing email will have a sender address. It's coming from a sender. Now, usually, whether this phishing attack is a mass phishing attack or a spear phishing attack, by the way, there is something called let me put a note here. So spear phishing. Spear phishing is targeting one specific individual instead of targeting mass emails. So in spear phishing, we know our target, we have information about the target, so we target them. We send them phishing emails to harvest passwords or even infect their computers with attachments. But mass phishing emails, so mass phishing, here we target more than one specific target. We don't need to know information about these people. So you might have received a lot of phishing emails before, and you might be wondering, oh, what's wrong? Why these people are sending me phishing emails? What do they want from me? Thing is, you could be the subject or the target of spear phishing, but most probably for public people, it's the mass phishing. So attackers would send like thousands of emails to thousands of people, and they wait for who will click on the link and submit information or download the attachment. Alright, coming back to components of phishing email. So first, the sender address. Okay, what is the email address that the attacker will use when they send the phishing email? Now that depends on the scenario, whether it is spear or mass phishing. Now an example of spear phishing is targeting one individual. So if you are targeting, let's say, an IT employee or an IT staff working in X company, you will have the sender address should have the domain name of that company. Say the person is working at x.com, your sender address should be say Julian at x.com. That's your sender email address. You should use something familiar with your target. If your target is working at x.com, it's preferable that your sender address should be coming from an email that has the x.com domain. Or you can spoof it. I mean, you can send it from a regular email address, but still somehow show the recipient that your email is coming from x.com. Alright, the other subject or the other component is the email subject. So the subject of the email. Now the subject of the email should use psychological tricks, and we outline here some of the psychological techniques such as urgency or greed. Now an example could be, again, your account has been blocked, you need to change your account password, your account has been compromised, here's a giveaway for you. So the subject will use psychological factors. The last component here is the content of the phishing email. Now the content should be in tandem with the subject. Okay, if your subject is about changing or making the user changing their password, you should have the content here should outline the steps for the user to take to change their password. And the content might either include a link or it could include an attachment, depending on your goals. If your goal is to harvest user information, you're gonna include a link in the content. For example, having a link in the content that claims to guide users how to change their password. An attachment could be a bill, or could be a statement, bank statement, whatever. Attachment here, the objective of the attachment is to infect the computer of the user. So here we looking to install malware. In here, we're looking to harvest credentials. So now we talked about the definition of phishing attacks and we talked about the components of phishing emails. Now let's talk about the infrastructure. So what the attacker needs to start sending phishing attacks, or even what the red team needs in order to start doing phishing assessment, which we're going to talk about now. Alright, components of phishing infrastructure. First, we have to pick up a domain name. Yes, you got it. We have to buy a domain name. Now, why do we need to buy a domain name? Again, back to the components of phishing email. In the sender address, we have to send from an authentic sender. Gmail doesn't work. Hotmail doesn't work. Even if you are targeting a personal connection of yours, you should research that person and see what are their interests, and most probably you're gonna find that they like some to eat at some local coffee shop or at some restaurant, or they like some brand. I don't know. They have to buy a domain name and make your email looks like coming from that domain name. The domain name could be representing a brand. It could be representing an organization, right? So there are techniques to buy a domain name. So you don't just go about buying a domain name. For example, people in the past, or attackers in the past, used to phish or send phishing emails claiming to be coming from Google, and the domain names they used, they actually look like they were similar to Google.com. For example, go.com. So some attackers use this domain name. As you can see, there is period from here in the middle. Some attackers use this domain name, Goggle and .com. As you can see, this is a typo. It's called typo squatting, making an you make some sort of typo on purpose in your domain name, so that the person thinks that this is the original domain name, which is Google. And some attackers buy an expired domain. So why do we buy expired domains even during phishing assessments? Because expired domains have what do we call a score. That score helps your email get in the inbox of the recipient rather than the spam. So here it goes to the inbox and doesn't go to spam. It helps, right? It depends on the filter. Now, the other component that you need in order to start sending phishing emails or phishing assessments is the SSL certificate. So remember that the phishing email might include a link, right? This link will go to the landing page. The landing page is designed by whom? By you. Either a red teamer or an attacker. I hope you are a red teamer. So you should design the landing page, and the landing page should have HTTPS. It's recommended because it gives the page an authentic outlook. Alright, so after domain name, SSL, we need to have email account or email server hosting, email hosting, let's say. Of course we need an email hosting, right? Because when we buy a domain name, we need to purchase an email hosting packet to start creating the sender email address. Julian@x.com needs an email hosting. Alright. Guys, I'm gonna have to remove some things. Alright, so we're gonna continue here. So we're gonna take this here. We need a web server. Or maybe hosting, right? Web hosting. You need a web hosting so that you start creating the web page, the landing page. 5, this is optional. You need an analytics platform. Why do you need an analytics platform? Because you want to know who opened the email, who clicked on the link, who downloaded the attachment, right? So you want to know all of these details. This is especially important if you are doing phishing assessment as part of a red team engagement. Now let's talk about the phishing assessment. Now, what is phishing assessment? Usually phishing assessment is conducted by red teamers or penetration testers. They want to test the readiness and let's say security culture of a specific organization. So what they would do, they would send phishing assessments to the employees of the said organization, and they would monitor who would click on the links or who would download the attachments, and then they deliver the report to the client. So phishing assessments cannot be conducted using Outlook or Gmail, right? You need a tool. You need a tool that will allow you to have all of these components in one place. So an example is this SET framework or SET framework, Social Engineering Toolkit. It comes pre-installed in Kali and allows you to conduct various sorts of phishing assessments. Other tool is the Gophish, which we will talk about in this video. Now, both of these frameworks, again, allow you to set up a domain name, not domain name maybe, allow you to like set up sender address, subject, content, the landing page. They have analytics in place as well. Okay, now last, let's talk about the security. So how do we protect ourselves from phishing attacks? All the time, you need something called awareness. I have to write this again because I don't have space in the board. Awareness. So why awareness? Because part of phishing attacks is psychological, right? So you need to educate users, employees, or people, depending on your audience, who they are. You need to educate them on how phishing attacks works. That's the best defense against phishing attack, is to know how it works. Okay, and always verify the sender address. Make sure that the sender address is who they claim to be. Okay, take a detailed look at the domain name. Sometimes the domain name looks like, or the fake domain name looks very much similar to the original one, but in fact it is not the original one. So take a closer look at the domain name and take a closer look at the sender address. Make sure you recognize the sender, who they are, and make sure not to click on any link unless you recognize the sender or even the attachments. Okay, now I advise you guys to read the book. The book name was The Art of Deception. The Art of Deception is a book written by Kevin Metnick, and it has all detailed information about psychological factors that attackers use to exploit human weaknesses. Okay, so this is the Gophish framework. This is the dashboard when you first log in. As you can see, we have these sections on the left: campaigns, user groups, templates. All of these sections enable you to start creating phishing campaigns. Now we have to first understand the order of steps. First thing here, let me see. First we start with the sender profile. So in sender profile, we need to create or adjust the settings so that we can send emails. Click on your profile and here name the profile name. Say it is local server. By the way, I have to give you credit to the TryHackMe room here. It is the phishing, and the tool I'm using now, Gophish, is part of the TryHackMe room. Exactly this one. At the end, we're gonna take a look at this particular scenario as well. Okay, we're gonna name it local server, and here from, let's say it's coming from no reply at redteam.thm. So this is the email address, okay, and here the host, SMTP host. That's why we need an email hosting, because in the email hosting, let's say it's GoDaddy or Gmail, they will give you can have the settings, SMTP and IMAP. So here, let's say it is the local host. Because the email server is set up locally here on the same machine. So we're gonna say it's localhost. And we're gonna save the profile. So now we have created the profile. Next we need to create a landing page. Remember that the phishing email contains a link to the page that's supposed to be designed by you. I'm gonna click on new page, and from here we're gonna fill in the details. So let's say the instructions given by the room here, I'm gonna say it is ACME login, and the code here, I'm gonna write the code. So basically, if you have designed the page yourself, you just have to paste in the HTML code. Okay, now if you want to clone a specific page or something, you can import from site. Put in the URL and it's going to be imported. You can click on source here to take a look at how the page looks on the front end. And here we're going to click on capture submitted data and capture passwords. Why do we need that? Because when the user clicks on the link and submits the detail, we want to capture the data. Okay, we're going to click on save. So we have the sending profiles and we have the landing page ready. Now we need to start designing the email template. The email template is the contents of your email that should be convincing enough for the recipient to click on the link. Okay, so we're going to name the template email 1. Here we define the subject. It's up to you, but for this scenario we're going to say new message received, and here we put in the text. Here goes the body of your email in the text. Try to make it as convincing as possible. So we're gonna say this is test. I'm gonna click on HTML. Okay, let's take this here because we want to insert some links. So we highlight the test. Let's say this is the hyperlink we want the person to click on. So here we click on the link button. Let's see where it is. Click on source and highlight the test. Okay. And here we have to put in the display, we put the link, and in the URL we put the variable, the URL variable. The protocol should be others. Now, on your side, it might be looking like this, but on the recipient side, it's gonna show the anchor text. Other than that, I think we are pretty much done. All right. So now we define the sender profiles, where we are sending from. We define the landing page that will capture the credentials. We have actually set the email contents. Lastly, we set the target. So click on new group, and here we set the targets. It could be one target or a group of targets. In the case of this room, it is a group of targets. So add, that's the first one, and the other one is here, and lastly this one. You also have the option to import from a CSV sheet as well. So can I say here it is targets. So everything is pretty much ready now. Go to campaigns, click on add a new campaign, and here we're gonna name it campaign 1. Now the email template, you can choose it from the email templates that have been created before. So it's email 1, the landing page, it's gonna pop the list of the landing pages that have been created while browsing the section in the landing pages section. The URL here, it's gonna be the URL that you need the user to be redirected to. So this is the URL of the server, and here we're gonna set this to 2 days before. These settings are related to the room, not they don't need to reflect a real scenario. So you're gonna select 29. Sending profile is local server. The groups is targets, and lastly we're gonna launch the campaign. So this represents the dashboard section, represents the analytics section. Here we can take a look at the breakdown of the campaign analytics, such as the emails sent, how many of them has been opened, how many of them has links clicked, and how many of them the user has submitted data. And here you can see the list of targets. Now if someone has submitted data, you'll be able to receive the credentials by clicking on this arrow and viewing the details. You're gonna have to wait a bit for this so that the data pops up. While this is being done, let's go here and take a look at this challenge at the end. So take a look at the below email and decide whether you think the email is phishing email or whether it looks safe. First, let's take a look at the sender email address. So it claims to be coming from Google support, and if you take a closer look at the domain name, you see it is exactly google.com. Hello, it has come to our attention that your account may have been accessed by a third party. Please log in and change your password here. Take a look at the link. So my account.google.com. So far everything looks perfect, but we still have to verify. We click on this link. If we highlight this link, take a look at the at the bottom here. So as you can see, the hyperlink looks like it's pointing to my account.google.com, the right domain. But if you look down there at the bottom of the screen, you can see it says my account.googlesupport.com. There is no such domain named as googlesupport.com. So you're gonna say nice try to the attacker and say phishing email. You can click on show issues and you can see the link actually goes to a different website than advertised. Next one. And there is a statement in red here. The address these emails usually come from is accounts@thebankinggroup.thm. So there is an email coming from accounts team. The address is accounts@thebankinggroup.thm. Hello, please download the latest finance report by clicking here. If we hover over with the mouse on the clicking here, we can see at the bottom the detailed link. In the case of a regular email, guys, you don't need to click on the link to be able to find out where it goes. You can just take a look at the bottom of the screen. You can see the correct link, or you can right click and copy link from your body from your email body. Back to the point. So at the bottom of the screen, you can see it says bankinggroup.sharedhosting.thm. So it's very much different than the original email address. You can say it is phishing email. There is a misspelling in the domain name of the sender. It only contains one G instead of two. Well, I didn't notice this, by the way. So as you can see here, the correct one has double G's, but here it has only one. The domain name of the linked file looks suspicious. Okay, another scenario. Take a look at the below email and decide. So TryHackMe, the sender, the name of the sender, and then we have the email is no reply at TryHackMeSupport.thm. Alright, we haven't heard of this domain before. Anyway, hello, we haven't seen you for a while. Click here to keep on hacking. So look at the link. The link looks legitimate because if you look at the bottom of the screen, you can see it is the right domain, tryhackme.com. You can say this is safe. Next one. Email coming from name test. The email account is accounts@acmeitsupport.thm. Hello, I have attached the report you asked for. Please don't show this to anyone. Now this one is kind of pretty hard. Why? Because we don't know who is ACME IT support, and we don't know who are they supposed to be, right? If you don't know the sender, it's recommended to stay away from the email, especially if it contains an attachment. This is the problem, because the attachment is a zero-sum game. If you downloaded the attachment and opened it, it's game over if it is malicious. That's why when there is an attachment and you don't recognize the sender, I recommend you guys to stay from the email. Back to the scenario here. Now SME IT support, .thm here, is a regular, pseudo name company used in all TryHackMe scenarios. So, but the attachment here looks very much suspicious. We're gonna say it is phishing. Show issues. Don't trust PDF file attachments. The same explanations I told you guys. That are not from a trusted source or unexpected as they contain malware. So that is the challenge flag. Okay. Back here. So back to the analytics of Gophish. You can see here that there is one user who clicked on the link, and on the status of that user, it changed from email sent to submitted data. To take a look at the submitted data, we hover over the arrow here, collapse the arrow, scroll down, and we see the details. View details. This is the password, and this is the username. And with these details, you can answer the question of this task. The Gophish task. What's the password for the Brian? Now the rest of the tasks are pretty much straightforward, and we covered them in the board explanation. So that was it, guys. And remember that the phishing room is part of, let me terminate the room here. This room is part of a track. Let me go to learning path. I think SOC level 1. Yes, it is part of no, not SOC level 1. It was part of red teaming. If you're doing the red teaming track, you can also categorize this room as part of phishing. So guys, that was it. And remember, if you want access to these notes, you can subscribe to channel 2 membership, and I'm gonna see you in the next video.